take it over.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Molly Childress, and I live in Richmond, Virginia. And we're so privileged to have Dr. Miles with us today. As we know, doctors are busy people, and we so appreciate that she's taken the time to educate us and inspire us and help us as parents do better for our kids. Dr. Miles is board certified in pediatrics and integrative medicine, an awesome combo of traditional medicine and preventative medicine. She graduated from Clemson University undergrad, went on to get her MD from South Carolina, and completed her pediatric training from the University of Utah. She has worked with kids and families, because let's be honest, she's really working with the parents, for many years, and we are delighted to have her share her expertise with us. I thought I would share a little bit of my story before I turn it over to her. So about almost 5 years ago, I was an exhausted mom, exhausted from watching my oldest child suffer from asthma. Each fall and winter, I would buckle up my seatbelt and get ready for the wave of sickness that would last for months on and off. My boy Lawson got RSV, which is a respiratory virus, when he was 5 months old, and that damaged his lungs so that with any cold or virus that came his way in the years following, he would experience the worst of it. I felt like he lived on nebulizer treatments, steroids, and antibiotics. The amount of pictures that I have of my little guy with those face masks is crazy. Well, time went by. I had 2 more children, and our visits to the pediatrician were endless. I mean, we love her and all, but seriously. As a mom, I felt exhausted, helpless, desperate. And as a nurse, I felt frustrated and fed up. And honestly, I felt like I would do anything, try anything to help my son. So 5 years ago, he was 8 years old, and it was 8 years of living life like this. So that's when I saw a Facebook post about fruits and veggies in a gummy. And I figured, why not? I know they're good for us. I know we aren't getting enough. It was September at the time, and I wanted to change the upcoming fall and winter season. I was looking for something simple, not more meds. So we got started in September, and at Lawson's well check that November, I told my pediatrician that we had started Juice Plus. She said she was a big fan and gave it to her kids as well. And so looking back, I so wish she would have told me about it sooner during all those years of suffering. But I am forever grateful that we gave it a whirl, that I didn't overthink it, and we just got started. So 18 months down the road, Lawson was off of all his asthma and allergy meds. He was discharged from the pulmonologist, and he hasn't had a nebulizer or inhaler in over 4 years. He's an active, athletic, attitudinal teenager now, and I couldn't be more grateful. And that's just one of my stories. I have one for each member of my family of 5. So the thing is, y'all, when we know better, we do better. So I'm so thankful that Dr. Miles is here with us and that she advocates for Juice Plus as a simple tool in our parenting toolbox. She's passionate about raising awareness in families and to help them take baby steps in the right direction. I heard Dr. Miles speak in person in Greensboro a couple of years ago and was so inspired by her story. And I remember feeling so thankful that she shares in the vision of holistic health. What she stands for is powerful, it's life-changing, and it's available to all of those that will listen. So thank you, Dr. Miles, for sharing with us.
Well, thank you, Molly. That was awesome. Your story is one of those that I have to tell you, it really touches my heart because I have a family that I just saw the other day in the office who lost a 5-month-old to RSV. And they have a 2.5-year-old now, and they're a very happy family, but it was extremely traumatic. So to hear that story of healing, what's possible is really amazing. So thanks for sharing that one particular story. We must have gotten our energy crossed for that. Well, I'm glad to see everybody. Wow. I hope you guys are doing okay with our crazy world that we're living in today. It's been a shift. I went through a major hurricane in Charleston when I was in medical school there in '89. Hurricane Hugo practically went to Nashville. It went so far inland. And it changed my life in the way that I think this is changing our lives, because we didn't have power for 2 weeks and we couldn't go anywhere. We were paralyzed with just working, waiting for electricity, waiting for services. And those kinds of events in your life really, like, I feel like change us for the better, even though they're so traumatic to go through. So I feel like that's what we're going through now, but it hopefully will change us for the better in terms of how we look at staying healthy and what we define as healthy, right? I feel like a lot of stories I hear today are about people who are previously healthy, who have suffered, and perhaps we need to define healthy a little bit differently, and what mindset we have about being in charge of staying healthy. And so that's kind of what I'm all about. And nutrition is really a foundation of that. So I'll tell my personal story about this. I was in my late 30s. I first heard about Juice Plus it's going to be 16 years ago this summer. And I was just 4 years into having established my own solo practice, and I just brought on a partner, and I was extremely stressed all the time. I was always trying to meet payroll, always trying to figure out how to run a business, because of course they don't teach us that in medical school. I just wanted to take really good care of children with this kind of more open-minded mindset, like bringing in nutrition as maybe a possibility to help people stay healthy and other things. So I ended up, as I looked back at this, really realizing how tired I was waking up at night, constantly worrying. And I frequently got sick because I thought because all that was normal, because the kids were coughing on me and I was, in a germy place all winter. But it turns out this wasn't very normal. And so of course I was introduced to Juice Plus, and that was by a mom in my practice who was really pretty courageous in the sense that she knew I was open-minded, but she said that she had brought her kids in for well checks and they hadn't been there in a whole year, which is of course always my goal, wanting the kids to stay healthy. But it turned out that these particular children had been in the office all the time up until a year ago. Literally, I'd see her at least twice a month, 2 children, and all of a sudden she didn't come for a year. So my first thought was, what? You must have another doctor. You must have gone somewhere else, because that doesn't happen. And she said, no, ever since I put them on this stuff called Juice Plus, they hardly ever get sick anymore. Well, they were quite sick. And so it seemed too good to be true. And people shared things with me and still do like that all the time, because they know I'm open-minded and there's always the best thing since sliced bread kind of thing. And so I needed to leave the room and get to the next room, because I heard the kids next door already. I was getting behind, and I said, well, just leave me some information, I'll take a look at it. I'm always open. And she said, well, can I leave you the research packet? And that was where I said, wait, what? Sure. So then I'm really kind of intrigued, but it got on the bottom of the pile. Literally the piles, right? There's too much mail and junk that comes to a doctor's office. If anybody's ever worked there, you know how many piles there can be. And so really, literally, if it hadn't been her persistence, we laugh about it now, her patient persistence, and super annoying at the time, but patient persistence, I probably never would have opened that research packet. It literally took me 4 months to open it and read it, because nothing's that good, right? And so finally I thought, she's never going to stop calling. And I picked up the empty bottles that I dug out from wherever they were that she had left, and read the back and realized there was just literally only fruits and vegetables in there. And there was no vitamin label, which was distressing, because I'm looking for how much calcium's in there and all of that. And so I got kind of curious. So I picked up the 10-ton phone and called her, because I was embarrassed that I had just been ignoring her messages. And that's how it started. So I have understood now in all these years, and met many, 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 many doctors and other healthcare professionals who recommend Juice Plus, that I was actually fast. It only took me 4 months to talk to this lady. And so many people are, doctors certainly are the biggest skeptics. And it's because we worry about harm coming from supplements and interactions with medications. And how do I know that's really what's in there? And, just supplements just tend to have less status for doctors, let's say. I think that's improving over the years. I've been a pediatrician for 25 years, and it's been great to watch this field of integrative medicine become more accepted. And I think now with the transition we're going through, it will become even more accepted. So in any case, I took a chance and made my family guinea pigs. And I had a daughter and my husband at home. She was 8 or 9, I think. And both of them were the issue. They didn't eat enough fruits and vegetables. They didn't, they had health issues that I thought were because of their diet. And so I said, well, I'll play along and I'll take Juice Plus because we get one order, split it, and the child can get it for free. That's how we did it. I was super skeptical. And lo and behold, really, as I look back on it, I thought within a week, I was sleeping through the night. I was weaning down quickly off the 3 cups of coffee a day that it was requiring to keep me functioning because I was not sleeping well. And my energy just was through the roof, not having coffee and having that much energy. I'd never experienced that in my whole life. And this again was my late 30s. So I felt pretty young at the time, but here I felt like 10 years younger, kind of within a month or so. And my daughter's chronic congestion, which I had tried now everything, including alternatives and regular medicine, and that had just basically never gone away. She wasn't allergic to anything. That was gone in 3 weeks. And we knew it because I said to my husband 3 weeks in, I didn't connect these 2 dots. But I said, when was the last time we asked her to go blow her nose and get up from the dinner table and go blow her nose because she was an 8, 9-year-old snorting mucus at the dinner table. And that turned out, because we found out when we ran out of Juice Plus, that it came back, that's when I connected the dots. And then that winter, this was fall, and that winter I didn't get sick at all. And really it took me, I'm so slow with these things. And I think it comes from that just skeptic. I mean, okay, I'll eat concentrated fruits and vegetables. It seems to make sense and I'm feeling more energy. So I like that. But when I began to look back, I noticed those other things. My husband's stomach got way better. He had probably irritable bowel, and just constant. We've been married already 12, 15, 20 years, I don't know, 15 years at least at that time. And that was a chronic daily thing that he suffered from, was just gone. So he had bought in for pretty quickly for the long haul. And then I learned about, then I kind of dug in and I thought, well, what is, I heard science, but I never read it. I was a little intrigued. I read the, first paragraph and was a little intrigued, but really went and dig into the science. And one of the things that kept me on Juice Plus all of these years, because it's about 16 now, was the effect on the genetics. So the positive effects on our genes, and understanding that I had genes that I didn't want, if I inherited them, I didn't want them to turn on. I wanted them to turn off. And that's what we know now about Juice Plus. And even years ago, we knew that there were good effects on genes. So for me, it was kind of more that safety net, because I already ate enough fruits and vegetables, and then that's just gone on. I feel like that started this ball rolling of really getting better and better at how we ate, that we exercised, that we thought about drinking enough water, that all those things we already knew how to do. But as we noticed this difference, it kept us going like in the right direction. And that's truly not just, I hear people say that all the time, but that's truly slowly but surely what happened for us. And I'm so forever grateful, because I ended up having cancer twice without, long story, but I healed so fast from the major surgeries that I had. I had been carrying these cancers from 2 to 6 years, depending on which one you're talking about, and didn't have any positive lymph nodes. I had stage 2, but not 3. So I didn't need chemo on either of those occasions. And the quickness with which I healed, and the fact that I had a strong enough immune system to hunt out those rogue cells that were trying to spread. In my mind, this is my story. I wouldn't want to have experienced those things in my life having not had the immune strengthening power that Juice Plus provides that we know by the science. And so I'm, I'm never stopping, but I can't say, oh, well, we're preventing cancer. That's not true of Juice Plus. What we're doing is we're strengthening our immune systems, our cardiovascular systems. We can talk about the science all day long. And I may just have had a little luck on my side, right? And so there's no way to really know, but I wouldn't have wanted to live that parallel life without Juice Plus in my case. So, and so I'm, I'm in my mid 50s, and I feel like I feel better than that time before I just started taking Juice Plus in my late 30s, where, I feel just as young. Unfortunately, things are starting to creak, right, David? But I certainly feel vibrantly healthy, and that is something that I'm grateful for this mom who just stepped out of her comfort zone and wanted to share it with me. So what I find with my kids in my practice that, I know lots of people that definitely don't get enough fruits and vegetables, and it's hard for all of us to get them ripe and full of nutrition rather than they're days old from transport or on the shelf in the grocery store. And so I see positive effects in so many people, probably thousands over the years, who consistently take Juice Plus. I think the consistency is a big part of it. And so that's my story. And I was able to pretty easily integrate it into my practice with it took a couple of years because I was still, like most doctors are, worried about ethics. And once I worked all that out, the AMA Code of Ethics supports Juice Plus by saying, if you're going to sell a supplement, here's the checklist. Number one, make sure that it's backed by science. That's the number one thing they say. Make sure it's backed by science, and several other things you disclose if you're, the financial relationship with the company that makes the product and that kind of thing. But really, once I read that, it was, well, if the AMA says it's okay, because basically Juice Plus checked all the boxes that the Code of Ethics wants you to check. So I didn't ever have any problem after that in sharing Juice Plus. And so the product piece is really easy for a doctor, I think, once they get the science and they see the results in their patients. But I also was kind of enjoying this new tribe of people that I had found. My sponsor was this mom in the practice, and she had a big team already, and I think was a senior sales coordinator at the time. And I was just kind of thinking, this is a great way to spread the news that good nutrition is good for the body. And that's what the tribe was all about. The Juice Plus tribe is all about spreading that message and raising people up in educational levels of, like, water, how to do it, exercise, all those things. It was very well-rounded to me. And so I was, going to events and bringing people and just having fun, because it was a way to help people learn and get healthier. And so then, because I had become a rep at the time that she was my wellness coordinator, Wellness Plus program, called something different back then, but that was super helpful for me because I didn't want to grow a business. I was still stressing out about how to meet payroll in my practice, right? I definitely didn't have time for running another business. So I thought, so that was a wonderful program for us. But once my paycheck got to be, I think it was probably when it got to be close to $1,000, and my husband's eyebrows started raising when the envelope, now used to be an envelope that you opened and got a check. It was paying a car payment, it was paying all kinds of stuff. And I was struggling in my practice still, to become more successful. It was a struggle for a long, it's primary care pediatrics. It's the bottom of the totem pole, but it's a mission, and so it was a really great side income. And he became very supportive. Prior to that, he'd been really resistant. He's like, yeah, go to your fun events and I'll stay here and wash the dishes. I'm like, great. So, but what we didn't know was 2008 was coming, and my husband's job was tied to the real estate market, and that crashed. And he lost his job, unfortunately, in his family-owned company that he was supposed to inherit. That was, at that time, probably 35 years old. He was supposed to inherit from his father, and his father he had to close. And that business was no more. And suddenly we were out of half of our income and all of our benefits, because I could never afford benefits through my practice. And so we were really hurting. And lo and behold, we actually sat down and thought, well, what are we going to do? And he said, well, in the end, I'll stay home and do Juice Plus. Now, up until this point, he'd never been to a conference. He'd just been washing dishes and helping at home. And that was all great support. But I had already planned, he agreed to go to a national conference with Juice Plus right before this happened, before the business closed. And he said, well, let's just go. It was a weekend. It was already paid for. I told him he could play golf if he wasn't interested after the first few sessions. And he never left that room. I mean, he never went to play golf because he was kind of glued to the whole stage of really seeing what impact there is in a conference. You get that impact of the company and how big it is and how the people are and all of that he got to experience. And didn't speak on the whole ride home on the plane, driving from 2 hours from the airport. And finally I said, okay, I can't stand it anymore. What do you think about the Juice Plus company? And he said, well, I think I can actually stay home and do this work and be a stay-at-home dad. And so that's what we did. And we solely focused on getting the national marketing director so that we could get our own benefits and have control over that and never have it taken away from us unless it was our responsibility that we weren't able to do Juice Plus for some reason. And so it really saved us. You know, probably 18 months later, I went from sales coordinator to NMD, I think, in that time, because we were so focused. And it was just such a blessing for our family and our child, you know, for him to be able to stay home for years, and really just didn't want anybody else to ever dictate whether he could go take his daughter to soccer practice, go together as a family to every game and all those things. So it was really wonderful and gave me the freedom to grow my practice like I needed to as well. So yeah, that's kind of you guys are hearing my long story. So that's how it happened. I don't know if I know it's about 3:30, so I wonder if you guys have any questions.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. I do actually have a question, because I know that I shared my story about my son, and we were I was in a desperate place. I was looking for something. So I guess I want to ask you, how would you speak to the family, the parent, the person who maybe isn't in a health crisis, doesn't have anything major going on, but how would you speak to them? Why is Juice Plus still something that would be important for somebody just who might be healthy right now?
Well, you know what? That's the position that I thought I was in. And so when I started taking Juice Plus, it was really just to be an example to my husband and daughter who needed it so bad. And actually, they weren't that unhealthy. They had things that we consider normal that, people just are chronically congested, or people just have, bowel issues sometimes. And that's true. But the question is, how much healthier can we be from a level that we don't feel? So what we know now about disease is that it all starts with inflammation that most of the time we can't feel. And so that's the definition of healthy that I'm hopeful is going to change through this transformation we're having here currently, is that just because you feel fine doesn't mean you are. And if you think about genes, you can't also feel your genes and know what genes you've inherited, but you don't want to smoke because smoking's bad for you. Well, smoking's bad for you on the level that it creates inflammation, and that is on every cell in your body, not just your lungs. So if you think about that, that's the same as not getting enough of all of these thousands and thousands of nutrients that are in fruits and vegetables ripened, not rotting because they've been on the shelf for 4 days after they've been picked. They lose nutrition. So it's that fact that they're ripe and they're a wide variety of colors that feeds all these little places in your cells that then give them the power to do the repair work that they naturally know how to do. to strengthen the immune system is really about giving the raw ingredients for the body to build those cells so that they're really healthy functioning. So I would say it's really about, first of all, I was very surprised that I felt any difference. And it took me probably 9 months to look back and go, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get sick all winter when usually I do. Or my husband didn't have this thing happening that he had. And wow, isn't that interesting? But there's also this certainly percentage of people that don't feel anything while they're taking Juice Plus or not, but it's that silent inflammation that's the problem. So you couldn't feel it anyway. So the real problem is our deficit in those ripe fruits and vegetables with all those thousands of nutrients. And that's the trouble. So yeah, so does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, Dr. Miles, I actually have a question.
Okay.
So we have some moms on here, and I know that I've got some friends that weren't able to join us, but thought that I might ask you, so picky eaters, whether it's kids, spouses, I know that is a struggle that a lot of, I think, moms, women, wives kind of deal with. And I know sometimes it's an easy battle to let the picky eater win, just it's not worth the fight. So I didn't know if you had any tips, tricks. I mean, obviously, Juice Plus is one simple, easy change, a way to get more fruits and vegetables, but any words of wisdom or advice to those parents in that situation?
Yes, I actually had this conversation yesterday with the mom and dad who brought their 2.5-year-old in for his checkup. And they, when I asked about diet, oh, it's fine. Then I started asking more questions and realized he was a pretty picky eater. And they, again, it's just what we consider normal. Well, 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, they tend to be picky eaters. Well, the tip as a background, kind of the thing that helps is that if you watch a 0 to 1-year-old, they grow really fast. If you watch their growth curve, they just, get so much bigger that first year. And then the second year, so 1 to maybe 9, it's really slow. So they have this really quick slowdown in their growth rate. And so their brain goes, well, we better not eat too many calories because we'll just get large and we don't need those calories to grow. So your appetite goes way down. So really picky eating tends to start probably for everybody way back when you don't really have to eat that much. So if there's fruits and vegetables and healthy stuff put in front of you, but then there's some cake over here, or there's some, something yummy that is maybe not that great. This family I saw today said their 2-year-old, they had just had a new baby, and the dad had gone shopping, and he came home and the mom said, what the heck is this? Because she's buying organic produce and all, she's like that. And he had bought SpaghettiOs because they were BOGO, and he had bought stuff she never buys. And she thought, you know what, it's fine because I just don't have the mental capacity right now to be cooking. And so that tends to be where it starts, where that now the tastes become SpaghettiOs or, generally bread, pasta, all the yummy carbs for the toddler. And then suddenly they don't want to eat the broccoli, which they loved before. So that tends to be how it happens. And now we know why that is. And that's because we're eating for billions, literally. We take a bite and it goes to billions of bacteria inside of us. And that's kind of a scary thought, but that's how it is. And to be the healthiest we can be, we know the balance needs to be 80% good guys and 20% bad guys. So it's the 80-20 rule. So you're trying to eat at least 80% of a great whole foods, plant-based diet. That's not vegetarian or vegan. That's just mostly plants. And then side items are meat, fish, those kinds of things. So that's the way you keep things growing right. And then they're going to support our health if we do that. So when you turn that corner and you start getting picky, it's a self-fulfilling cycle. So what happens is you're eating the breads and the pastas, and then those bacteria grow, and then they send off signals to your brain, literally through your blood. Please feed us more of that because we really like that. And then you crave. So if you ever think about cravings you've had in your life, that's really not you. It's the bacteria talking to your brain. And so And so anyway, this cycle continues. So what we have to do is we have to start to try and starve the bad guys and feed the good guys, like overfeed the good guys. And so that takes really shifting the balance. What I find with the toddlers and the young kids and the husband I had that was an extremely picky eater, soda, Cheetos, you name it, SpaghettiOs, the little wieners in the SpaghettiOs, all that. M&Ms, big pound bags of M&Ms, which he occasionally does now, but he knows like he doesn't feel good after, right? But he just wants the taste. And then he won't do it for a month. And I'm happy with that. Like that's the best I've got in 33 years. But he understands now that I've educated him on that. It's programming your microbiome, and then that leads to good health or bad health. So what I've found with the young kids and like the picky husband or spouse is that one simple change of Juice Plus is such an easy way to like start overfeeding the good guys, the probiotics, because it's not suffering like eating a plate of vegetables would be for that person. So, and then what happens is those guys start to grow and they start sending off the signals to your brain. Hey, I kind of like that green vegetable. Maybe for the toddler, green doesn't look like ew anymore. It looks like, oh, maybe I want to taste that broccoli. And tasting is great because just tasting, little tastes, even if they spit it out, that actually is positive because it's programming the palate. What we know now is programming the microbiome. So that's one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm glad you asked that question.
Awesome.
Because it's like we feel like we're not in control of it, but we really are actually. You know, if we say we have a sweet tooth and it's just, everybody in my family has a sweet tooth, or everybody has high blood pressure, everybody eats like this, you have way more control than you realize, than I ever realized.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I know I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but I am so glad.
Jill had one question she wanted to
ask. Jill, you had a question?
I did. Dr. Miles, I just want to tell you, I'm a nurse practitioner. I just started my own solo practice, and I do adult and geriatric medicine, but your talk is just so inspiring to me, and I really enjoy everything that you're saying. But I did have a question for your pediatric patients as far as like the omega blend. I was just curious, like from a clinical perspective, what kind of numbers or what kind of patient you would actually bring up that omega blend to if they had high cholesterol or high triglycerides.
Yeah, I have a couple of other things that I like for that too. So omega-3s have been well studied. Everybody knows about omega-3s. They help your heart, they help your brain. They've been studied well like that. Mainly what I love about them is they're anti-inflammatory. And that's probably why they help your heart and help your brain and help your joints, because they're anti-inflammatory. But we've taken out, like we do in medicine and science, we take out one specific thing. There's a whole spectrum of omegas, just like in an apple, there's thousands of nutrients, not just vitamin C. There's lots of other things. But we need to study one thing at a time so we know what is causing an effect in a scientific study. So omega-3's got a lot of press, but it's really a spectrum. And when we eat plants or the fish, we're getting a spectrum of those omegas. So how I counsel my pediatric patients on omegas is it's easy when they're young from food. So it's really a nutritional education. So salmon and various other things, a lot of plant-based things have omegas in them to just get enough of those in the diet. So usually we do fine that way. But then you hit about 5 or 6, as you start growing bigger, it's hard to get enough. And you're also in that picky phase. So I love the Juice Plus omegas because there's no fish particularly. Fish can be full of toxins. The overfishing is really a sustainability issue and that kind of thing. So I really love that it's all plant-based. And now we have data on this omega blend that shows that the omega-3 index is significantly raised by taking the omega blend. And that study's in process, or in process of being published. It's finished. So we know that when we look at omega-3 studies that show heart health, brain health, that the omega-3 index goes up. Well, the omega blend does that in the blood as well. So there's no doubt that we need lots more research on it, but because that raw data is there, that we know that there's an effect. So what I love for kids, these older kids who are maybe 5, 6 and up, is you can chew that capsule and it's kind of squirts and it has this delicious orange vanilla kind of flavor to it, which is not offensive at all because it doesn't taste like fish. And the kids love that. And then they just spit the jacket of the capsule out. So I find, really it's a dietary thing. So I find out, if there are plenty of omegas in the diet and foods, they're probably fine. But then there's certain conditions like anything inflammatory, eczema, asthma, things like that. And also anybody who has that chicken flesh on the back of their arms, they call it chicken flesh in the South. That is keratosis pilaris, and lots of people have that. It's inherited dominantly from your parents. So if one parent has it, you get it. And it's something that they discovered many, many years ago was that people that have that tend to have a defect in how they process their omegas. And so when you take an omega supplement, that gets better. So that's a little just cosmetic thing, but I like it for that too.
Interesting. Yeah. My daughter has that and she
Yep.
doesn't take the omegas.
So Loofah Sponge, moisturizer, omegas.
Ah.
See if it gets better in a month and she'll be ecstatic as she grows up.
Yeah.
I have a question, Valerie.
Yes.
Are you still using the Wellness Plus program with your,
Yeah, so
my that?
my sponsor, my husband, once he came home and started to do the stay-at-home dad thing and do the Juice Plus business, he became the wellness coordinator. And so we kind of share it. I do more of that. He finds that we're more successful when I talk to people more about the Juice Plus. So it's kind of a hybrid, I guess.
Well, over the years in my working with physicians and healthcare people, I whatever program you have, it starts with the credibility of the healthcare person.
Yes.
And you can't just refer it away. You've got in 1 minute, you can say so much, can't you?
Yes.
And leverage off and say, look, there's a lot of things you can do, but here's one thing I know that's going to help you.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to see you get started on this. And then you have your own segue into how they get it, right?
Yes. I never took, now I'm doing like you are, Jill. I started my own practice in 2000, but shifted out of the insurance model. So even pre-COVID, actually 2 weeks before COVID shutdown happened, I launched a new practice, which is, yeah. So, and it's okay because it's really, it really serves people so much better. But I don't want people to take Juice Plus just because I said so. Like if I asked them, if I said, you should take iron because you need it, they would take iron. And then they would notice they felt better and we would look at labs and you know what I mean? Just because I'm their doctor, I want them to understand why it's important. And that's why all of these events and education, like we're having now all virtual. I'm doing one tonight. If you guys want to invite, I can send you that info or David can send it out.
Send it to me.
Yeah,
Sure.
then it's a huge Zoom, like 1,000 lines tonight that anybody can come to that's very much product oriented, not business. But that's what's so great because then people learn and learn and learn. And at some point some pain point makes them take action. Like for me, I just wanted my daughter and my husband to eat more fruits and vegetables. And so I'm like, I'm over trying to get them to eat more fruits and vegetables. This makes sense, so there's some point where you, and then began to learn about it afterwards, learn more about it afterwards.
So Valerie, you're doing a Zoom tonight. You're the speaker on a Zoom.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Are we not lucky? We get a little private conversation.
Yes, that's right.
Right here, just us chicken. Aren't we lucky?
Yes. And that's about 25 minutes, I would say, of just the, the basic with my flair, my kind of, not really my story so much as my kid perspective and that kind of thing. So for any age, really, people who want to learn more about Juice Plus, yeah, you can send that out. It didn't get publicized. They're having a little trouble getting all these shifting gears and getting all these things publicized like we would want them, but I'm happy to send you that.
Send it to me and I'll get it to
Sure.
folks. And I'm good. I'm just grateful for you.
Yes, well, I'm grateful to be invited. I hope that was helpful and I'm glad it was recorded so you can share.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Miles. So appreciate it. I'm so grateful that when you were in college, you had that open mindset about the power of and potential for nutrition. Because I know that it was a couple of years ago in Greensboro, I heard you speak for the first time, and you really kind of opened my eyes and put me on a course to look at adding integrative care to my own medical team following a cancer diagnosis 9 years ago. So thank you.
You're so welcome. That's wonderful. I love hearing follow-up stories like that.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.